So in today's video, we are talking about 35 different ways that you can use n8n in your daily life. Now we're going to be spending about a minute every single use case. I'll be showing you examples as well. And if you like anything, I'm going to link down below in the description to videos showing you how you can build every single one of these out with free blueprints so that you can get it up and running in a matter of just a couple minutes. Now in this video, we're going to be covering a broad range of things. We're going to start with general productivity. Then we're going to move into sales, after which we'll transition into career and freelancing, and then social media, then marketing, AI SaaS, recruitment, customer service, and miscellaneous. With that being said, let's dive into this right now. The first one that could save you probably 15 to 30 minutes every single day is automating your entire Gmail. So imagine, for example, all of your emails were conveniently categorized into the correct folder, and of course you could draft replies, delete messages, all of that kind of stuff. So how this works is that when you receive an email coming in from Gmail, we're going to use AI over here to categorize it into one of the following categories, like promotions or social or personal, sales, recruitment, and so on and so forth. Now on top of keeping things nice and organized, as you can see by all these tags right here, we can also act upon those messages as well. So here's a couple things that I really like to do. If I'm getting promotional emails from e-commerce companies that somehow collected my email like 7 years ago, I'm just gonna delete those messages or whatever, right? You can also automatically create drafts if you wanted to, or you could even send emails back automatically. Now, when I get accounting emails, specifically those that contain invoices, I'll actually strip the invoice off and then I'll forward that over to my accountant, who can then go ahead and upload that into QuickBooks. And so those are just a couple examples of how you could automate your entire Gmail. Now this saves me probably, I wanna say at least 15, but probably more like 30 minutes every single day. Now, the next automation that I want to talk about here is automatically organizing your Google Drive. Now, this looks really scary, but it's actually very simple. How this works is that anytime you upload a document into your Google Drive, okay, it's going to automatically categorize that into whichever folders you have here. So if you're like me and you created a Google Drive account like 20 years ago, it's kind of scary going through this and just seeing all of the different files that you never even knew existed and somehow ended up in your Google Drive account. But with an automation like this, you can automatically just organize them into the correct folder. So maybe like accounting and recruitment and school for my community, or YouTube, or whatever the case may be. Essentially how this works is a file will come in and then it'll go down one of many paths. It'll just define what it is. This could be like a PDF or Google Slides or Google Sheets or whatever. We could deal with audio files or video files or so on and so forth. And so we're just essentially, all these paths are the same. We're just defining what it is, and then we are going to analyze that file. So we could analyze an audio message, we could analyze a video, we could analyze a PDF document. We're just extracting what's actually going on, and then we go ahead and we move it into the correct folder. We can even rename these files as well so that it comes out to be in the correct place with the correct name so that we can easily locate it. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is how we can use something like Google Sheets to create custom web applications. This sounds pretty crazy, but hear me out here. And this is probably the one I use more often than anything else inside n8n, where we can dump data from within n8n into our Google Sheet here. So for example, let's say we have leads coming through, okay? Maybe we have a website, people inquire on our site, they fill out a form down here, okay? And when they do, maybe that form is submitted and we dump that into a Google Sheet just like this, okay? So that's one part, is we can store all of our data automatically inside n8n. So instead of you having to manually type in every person's name and email and phone number, which is obviously really tedious, this can be automated. But the coolest part about this is actually this second workflow here, where anytime you change anything for whatever reason on this particular Google Sheet here, we can do some sort of action. So if I wanted to, for example, check off of the box to send an invoice to this contact, we could automatically start this workflow. We could go down one path, like maybe we email them, or maybe we send off an invoice, or maybe we take another action. We can have as many options as we want, and we could literally automatically send an invoice to that person in just one click of a button. So automatically, by just clicking this button right there, we could start this workflow that goes down a certain path, which then goes ahead and generates a full-blown invoice or contract or whatever, and sends that over to a person. So that's how you can turn Google Sheets into a full-blown web application. Again, use it all the time. The next thing is automatically styling and generating Google Docs. Now, this is an absolute game changer if you're using Google Docs all the time, but essentially in a workflow like this, we could automatically go ahead and generate full-blown Google documents that are completely styled with headers, underlined text. We have different colors here. We can add in images. We can also have bold text, line breaks. Let's see, what else? We can add in like background colors and change the color of the text over here. We can have full-blown tables that are styled. All of this kind of stuff can be automatically generated using n8n and a simple workflow like this. The real magic is this AI node right here, which is essentially just going about styling the whole thing. So you can come in here, you can add your whole styling rubric, and then it will just follow your guidelines every single time and create polished documents that represent or reflect your brand. Now, on to the next automation here. We're talking about web scraping. Now, web scraping is one of those things which could literally take hours to do manually that only takes like a couple seconds or a couple minutes doing automatically. And so let's say, for example, you needed to abstract some information. Maybe it's off Google Maps or it's off one of the other thousands of websites that you could do this on. If you had to come in here manually, okay, you'd have to go in every single listing here. You'd have to pull out all the information. You'll notice that these don't have emails on it. So you might have to go to the website, open that up, get the email, and then do this 1,000 times. And that could easily take 8 hours. Now, inversely, a workflow like this can automate that process in like literally, I kid you not, 2 minutes. Like this is so incredibly fast. And also we're automating boring stuff that you probably hate doing anyway. So we're using a platform called Appify. And what Appify does is it web scrapes from over 7,000 different websites. Some of these you're pretty familiar with: TikTok, Google Maps, Instagram, Facebook, Amazon, literally all the major websites. And what we're doing here is we're just dumping that into our Google spreadsheet right here. So in this instance, what we could do is find high quality social media ideas, right? So instead of you combing through social media every single day, you could have a web scraper like this that literally runs at some cadence, scrapes data, and then dumps it straight into the Google Sheet here, maybe even rates it so that you only have the top 1% of ideas coming in here, so that you absolutely fall in love with the ideas that you're presented with on a daily basis when you wake up. Cool. Now moving on, the next two are going to be how we can connect something like n8n into ChatGPT or into Claude. And so with this next workflow, what's going on here is we can create a custom GPT. Now keep in mind, you do need a paid plan on ChatGPT in order to do this, but what we can do is we can automatically sync up our messages so that as soon as we send something from ChatGPT, it's actually received inside n8n, and then we can hook it up to whatever we want it to be hooked up to. So there's access to over 500 different applications that we can connect into, and thousands more via the HTTP request right over here. So two examples could be that once we upload a invoice just like this, we could literally strip out all of these line items and we can send that straight into a Google spreadsheet just like this. We could also hook it up to an AI agent, and then we can give it access to our calendar so it can start booking events for us automatically straight through ChatGPT. And so those are just a couple of the literally endless amounts of possibilities. Very similarly, we can also do the same thing with Claude. Now, in this instance, what we're doing is we're connecting it through MCP, which stands for Model Context Protocol. And so essentially this can have a two-way sync communication as well, where we can both send data to Claude via the MCP client over here, so we can receive data inside Claude, but we can also send data from Claude into the MCP client trigger. So for example, I could literally just ask down here, like, create a calendar event for me for coffee tomorrow at 12:30, and it could go ahead and create that calendar event for me straight through connecting Claude to n8n, which gives it access to whatever tool that I needed to have access to. Cool. And so one of the most popular use cases inside n8n is dealing with PDFs and images and documents automatically. So here's an example. Let's say you have an invoice just like this. Now, I can't imagine many more boring things to do than to go through invoices all day and pull out information and then put that into a Google spreadsheet. We've all been there before, where we need to get information and we need to pull it out line by line, and it's just tedious. It's like literally pulling out teeth, except I think pulling out teeth might be a little bit more enjoyable. And so how this works is we can have multiple different triggers here. Maybe we're sending messages through Telegram, for example, or we're receiving emails, or wherever the case may be. We can get a document from multiple different sources. We can connect that into an AI agent, agent which processes these documents. Now, these could be images. They could also be PDFs. It really doesn't matter. We can play with a lot of different data types, and then we can automatically pull this information and then abstract that and put that right into a Google Sheet like we did before. And this is great because all of a sudden, all of those documents that you're doing manually, you can do automatically moving forward. Cool. Now, moving on is another incredibly popular use case, which is generating a personal AI agent assistant for you, which can take care of all the tasks that you need it to do. Now, imagine having like a virtual employee where you set up one time how you want it to conduct some particular behavior, like for example, maybe calling people, or maybe dealing with your Google Calendar, your Gmail, or your social media posting, or whatever the case may be. And then once you train it one time, it just does that over and over again anytime you ask it to. So for instance, you could message via Telegram over here saying, hey, I want you to go ahead and create a calendar event for tomorrow at 12:30 for coffee. Could go ahead and do that. You could also say, hey, create me a draft email to send over to somebody asking about following up with them because they were inquiring about booking an appointment with their company. That's another thing that you could do. And so the options are endless, but you could keep just adding as many different tasks on here, and then this could go ahead and do those tasks for you. Sweet. And so the next thing that I want to talk about here is project management. This is a really, really important workflow as well. So let's say you're working on projects. Could be just yourself. It could be also with a team too. And with a system like this, you could automatically go ahead and create as many different tasks inside something like ClickUp. ClickUp is a platform that allows you to do project management. And so you could easily put all of your tasks together. A great use case would be when you close a deal with the client and you have to fulfill that deal. You could write down every single task. You just assign it to every single person on your team with deadlines, with notes on what needs to be done. The coolest part about this too is not only do you have to can you only create the tasks, but you can also customize these tasks as well. So if you're sending data from your CRM, maybe you have a bunch of information on that client, and then you can customize the entire project from within ClickUp as well. Now, moving past this, the last thing in general productivity that I'd like to cover is notifications, which is a game changer. So let's say you deal a lot with Slack, and this could be so many different tools or whatever. It doesn't have to be Slack, but this is just the one I use for my team. But essentially, anytime you want to notify yourself or somebody else in your team that they need to do something, not only could you create a project management task like in ClickUp, but you could also send a message off to somebody. So this is kind of like a stupid example of a notification because I just asked, hey, testbot1, what a creative name, eh? Can you tell me a joke? And it went ahead and said, I'd be happy to tell you a joke, but I don't see anything that the user said to me that it was based on. Here's a quick joke about the situation. Why did the comedians stare at a blank page? Because they were waiting for somebody to give them material. Oh man. We're just going to move on to the next section here, which is career and freelancing. So if you guys are, out there, you're looking for a job or you're looking for additional freelancing work, here's 2 workflows that are going to really help speed up your time to find paying customers or find a job. So the first one is finding jobs on places like Indeed. So think about it this way. Like, we've all heard the news articles. It's like person X spends a year applying to 500 jobs or 600 jobs. Imagine if instead of you having to go through the excruciating pain of applying to all these jobs, you could just log into your computer once a day into a list where all the jobs are pre-vetted for you. You can see a rating of how similar that job is to your preferences, and the cover letter could be generated as well. We're pulling all data from all of the jobs, like the salary and the city and all that kind of stuff, and we're pulling it in from places like Indeed, like LinkedIn as well, or places like ZipRecruiter and the other 10 or 20 other job aggregate boards out there. So we can literally just pull it in, and then every single morning, all you have to do is just disqualify the jobs that are not applicable to you. And this is great because a lot of the times when you're applying to jobs in general, it's just wasted reading through really dry, really incredibly, I don't know how they make it so freaking boring. If anyone has an answer for me how job listings can be so incredibly dry and boring, please let me know. But anyways, this will bypass a lot of that because now all of a sudden you only have to read through the jobs that actually get you excited or actually similar to what you want to apply for in the first place. It'll generate the cover letters. Then you can go off to the races, click the link and apply to that particular job. Now, past this, what you could also do is create a similar workflow mode that you automatically pull jobs off of Upwork. So if you're into freelancing, for example, and let's say you're in the AI automation space, at any given time, there's like literally 4,000 people. I wish I could zoom in a bit more there because like this is so important. There's literally 4,000 people looking for AI automation at any given time. And we could just scroll for days through this. You'd never be able to work for this many jobs or even apply to this many jobs in a given time before this all refreshes and there's another 4,000 people. But anyways, every single day, what this will do is it will web scrape all of these listings off of here and it will dump it into a particular Google Sheet. Very similarly, it will create the cover letter and it will also go ahead and filter them out and score them so that you only focus your time on the jobs that actually matter so that you can, you know, not waste your time on things that you don't probably care about doing, like going through all of these very boring, job postings, verifying you're human every single 2 seconds, and then, you know, going through the whole process. Obviously this sucks. I wouldn't like to do it. I'm sure you wouldn't like to do it. And this is a way that you can automate most of that. Now, moving on to the next category here, we have sales. And this is how you can make money, hopefully using tools like n8n or automation tools in general. So the first one is how you can take a sales call. So let's say you're talking to somebody called Agnes. I'm just going to use the name Agnes here. And you're on a passionate sales call with Agnes and you're filling out all the details. Agnes, tell me what your problem is. She's like, hey, I need help with SEO. You're like, great, I have the perfect solution for you. We're going to build a blog generator for you. And you put in all the details like this is going to cost you, Agnes, a total of $5,000. But Agnes, because of your name, we're going to give you a 10% discount, all this kind of stuff, right? You just throw it together. And then all of a sudden you can literally trigger when you submit this workflow down here, this particular AI automation, which is going to go ahead and generate a proposal for you that you can send off to Agnes. Now, the cool thing about this is it's a 2-in-1 document. You can both use this as a contract, and then you can also use this as an invoice. You can generate very dynamic pricing tables. You can even add in here optional upsells, which, as just a side note, this made me 10% more top line revenue just by adding in additional products, because you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So if you just put products in front of your customers, chances are they're going to buy more of it, of whatever you're selling. So this is a great alternative as well. And so this is the kind of stuff that you can generate using PandaDoc and n8n. Sweet. So the next automation that I want to talk about inside n8n is voice AI calling using a platform called Vappy. Now, a couple things to keep in mind. This is outbound and inbound calls. So you can call people, but you could also receive calls from people. So this could be like a receptionist where somebody calls you and you answer the call, you route them to the right place, or you get them the right information. You could also do outbound calling as well. Just keep in mind the ethical considerations of outbound calling using voice AI. But another practical use case is, let's say somebody inquires on your website. Okay, so they're interested in your services. Like, for example, maybe somebody comes to me, they apply or inquire about voice, or they inquire about AI automation, they fill out the form, and then that could trigger like a setting call, which is an AI setting call, which qualifies the person, making sure that the right fit for our company and our company is the right fit for them. And then once we go ahead, make sure that person is qualified, then in real time, this AI agent or voice AI can connect into n8n, okay? And it can have access to my calendar. So it could book a closing call between me and that person on my calendar in real time while talking to the person, and then we could have that like located right on this calendar, which I think is really cool. Now, the next workflow that I want to talk about here is a speed to lead workflow. So imagine this: somebody is interested in your services and they fill out a form on your website inquiring about those services. What this workflow will do is it will automatically call that client in literally 15 seconds.
New lead. Please press any key on the keypad to connect in with your new lead Jono catalyst.
So how this works is it will call me as the sales rep first. I press any key on the keypad, and then once I do that, it will call the lead. And if they pick up, we'll be on a call together within 15 seconds or less. And why this matters is because if you call within 1 minute, you can increase your conversion rate by 391%. This isn't my stat. This is a stat that you can find widely accessible online. And there's very few things that can get you 4 times the amount of money in literally 5 minutes. This happens to be the only thing that I know of, and I think it's one of the most powerful automations that you could possibly build inside n8n. Okay, cool. Moving past that, the next automation that I want to talk about is very similar to the previous one, but in this instance, what's going on is we are automatically scoring leads as they come through. So let's say, for instance, you have a form like this and you ask people like, hey, what's your monthly revenue and what's your budget and all this kind of stuff. You could actually take that information using AI. You could process some kind of score where you give points, where you're like 1 point if the lead has a budget of over $5,000, 1 point if, you know, they're in the service industry, and so on and so forth. And you can score that particular lead on a 1 to 5 point basis and then disqualify people that are not the ideal candidates for you, so that you only focus your time on calling people that are the right candidates or the right leads for yourself. Now, moving past this, the next workflow that I want to talk about here is automating appointments. So one of the coolest things too about n8n is you could, for instance, send out your calendar automatically to people. Let's say when they fill out that form to book a call and maybe they don't pick up the phone, you could automatically send out a calendar just like this, okay? And when somebody goes ahead and books a date and a time, you can automatically send out notifications to that person leading up to the event, the calendar meeting. So it could be like the moment they book, a day before they're booking, 30 minutes before they're booking, maybe you send a text message. And the cool thing is you can do this for them, but you can also do it for you too, because let's be honest, like a lot of the times clients don't show up, but sometimes you might not show up either. You might have something that comes up or you might forget about it. And this is just a good way to get you on a call with somebody else. Now, taking it one step further, not every single person that you book a call with is going to show. Sometimes people might no show, or sometimes people might cancel. And so in these emails, you can include a link to reschedule, for instance, or cancel the appointment. And I would rather have people cancel than no show, because if at least they cancel, I can rebook that time with somebody that could potentially close. And so what can happen is you can have 2 additional workflows down here. If they reschedule, you enter them right back in to send them notifications to the call. And if they cancel, you can send them notifications being like, hey, I heard you canceled. It would be great to reschedule for a later point in time. The reason why this matters is because not everyone that cancels isn't interested. Most people, I would say, are not interested, but there's an amount of people that, you know, life just got in the way and they would like to jump on a call, and that can result in a sale. And so unless you follow up and you work with them to close the deal, it's otherwise lost. And this is a great way to bring them back in so that you can later go ahead and close them. Now, the next 2 and last workflows inside sales is when somebody goes ahead and signs and pays. And so when somebody goes ahead and signs that document that you send over to them, you could automatically send them follow-up messages being like, hey, I saw that you signed, but you didn't go ahead and pay. And this is really important, because if you're in a business and cash flow is essential to you, you don't want people signing and then deciding to pay 6 or 12 months later. Like, that's the worst thing that can happen. And nobody likes chasing down a client and being like, hey, you know, it's been like 10 years now, like my hair has turned gray and, you know, I'm not the same person anymore, but I was wondering if you could pay, you could pay me for the services that you agreed to pay me for. And obviously you want to avoid that. An automated system like this will ensure that as soon as somebody goes ahead and signs that agreement, you'll follow up with them and get them to pay. And then once they go ahead and they fill out their credit card information via something like Pandoc or whatever the platform is that you're using, you can go ahead and automate that too, and then insert that into your onboarding process. First of all, you can thank them being like, hey, thanks so much for paying, really excited to work with you. You could automate the process of QuickBooks and bookkeeping. You could automatically create onboarding like project management systems for them. There's an endless amount of possibilities. Now, moving past this, I want to go into social media as the next category. And so with a system like this, what's going on here is we can automatically generate social media posts, just like this LinkedIn post here, which got 11,380 impressions, or this one that got 8,000 impressions, or 11,000 impressions, or 11,000. And keep in mind, this is on a brand new LinkedIn account with not that many subscribers. So how this works is 2 parts. You can either generate the content, and once you're ready to generate it, then you go ahead and post it. So you can generate the captions. And the reason I segment this into 2 is because maybe you want some quality control, so you don't just put out stuff that doesn't represent you well or you're not proud of, right? And so you can take a second look at it, make sure you're happy, and then once you are, you can click this post, and this will segment it down to 2 paths. It'll generate the content like the captions, and then once you go ahead and post, it'll go down the second path and post it to the social media platforms that you want to post to. And then you can generate content like this in a matter of just a few minutes. Now, the next thing that you can do is generate AI video content using something like VO 3 or Sora 2. And so how something like this works is you automatically can generate videos like this.
Do you think anyone's watching us?
Or something like this as well. Keep in mind.
Donut store looks suspiciously like a gym.
Or something like that too. Just keep in mind, like the text is not always perfect on VO3, but this is only going to improve over time. And obviously the voice is not the exact same voice as Homer. It was like weird the first time I watched this because like that looks exactly like Homer, except the voice, nothing like him. Anyways, that's another option. Now, another cool thing that we can do besides just videos is we can generate images. And the coolest part about this is not only can we generate images, but we can also merge those images together with a workflow like this. So let's say you're in product photography for Lush, and no, I'm not affiliated or representing Lush in any way whatsoever. But let's say you have soap like this, and then you have this Lush body wash, and you want to merge these together instead of like going over to a designer or whatever to, you know, build this out for you. You can use artificial intelligence and merge these together into a nice little gift basket down here. And you can see that it does pretty well with the text, same here and same here. The only thing it didn't do well on is this, where that is complete 100% gibberish. But to be fair, like it's trying to pull it from here and I can't read that. And I also, at least this is a bit clearer gibberish. And this is like nonsense that is completely unclear. Anyways, moving past this, the last thing that I want to talk about inside our content category here is faceless YouTube videos. So this is primarily shorts, but essentially with the long, complicated workflow like this, which is going to be down below for free in the description, we can generate videos like this.
3 remote jobs for 2025. 1. AI prompt engineer. Craft perfect prompts for businesses. 2. Virtual reality designer.
And so that's kind of the video. You'll see a couple things. There's captions down here, which to be fair, like I didn't do the best job placing these captions. I should have removed the text up here as well because it kind of overlapped and it didn't look the best. And so that's just 100% on me, not on the prompt. You can add in background music. You can add in voice on here. You can add in motion pictures. And so you can create really cool stuff just using an automation like this. Cool. Now moving past this, the next category that I want to talk about is marketing. So we can create a marketing agent team which can handle multiple different tasks like creating videos, images, blog posts, and all of that kind of stuff. So let's just go through a list of what it can generate here. So first of all, it can generate picture ads. It could generate videos.
Experience unforgettable flavor at the Rusty Oak Steakhouse.
Okay, cool. And then it can generate other, images like this or like that. You can even edit images. So we have the ice cream and then we're changing the color, but everything else is kind of staying intact. Really cool stuff. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about here is AI agent web scraping, which essentially you can control one AI agent to scrape multiple different locations: Google Maps, Yellow Pages, Apollo, Instagram, TikTok. So, and then dump that into a Google spreadsheet just like this. So you were using Apify here, and there's just so many different platforms that we can scrape data from, like Google or TikTok or Twitter or what else? Instagram, or the list goes on and on. Facebook or LinkedIn. Every major platform you're using, you can likely scrape data from using Apify, and you can also get started for free. And you can get all of those results in here. You can enter that into so many different workflows, such as, for example, a cold LinkedIn outreach system, which can take that lead list that you just generated from Apify, and then you can automatically DM people on LinkedIn with a workflow like this. Okay. And so we can send out messages, just, first of all, connecting with people. Once they connect, we could send them follow-up messages and so on and so forth to sell our products or services. We can also cold email people as well. So once we get that list of people, we can insert into something like Instantly, which is a cold email system, and send out campaigns just like this, like, hey, first name, personalization. And then we can have like our copy here. Of course, we can split test multiple variations to find the winning formula. And this is how you could send off emails automatically using n8n as a tool. The next thing that we could do is generate blog posts and then publish those blog posts on social media. So one path is for generating the blog posts. Another path is publishing those blog posts on social media to gain traction. So this is kind of what that blog post can look like. You can not only generate the entire blog post, but you can style it using artificial intelligence up top here. You can generate AI images that look pretty good. And you can also do all types of SEO optimization as well. Like for example, the meta title, description, alt tags, everything that you want to do in order to optimize this, you could figure out how to do this with a blueprint like this inside n8n. Now, when I was doing SEO using AI, I was able to get up to 1,500 clicks every single day. When I started this journey, I was only getting like 10 clicks on my website every single day. And keep in mind, what I'm showing you here is just one website that I was doing this for, when we really had 3 websites doing this at the same time. This was for my past business. Now, moving on to the next category here, we have AI SaaS, which allows you to create full-blown web applications using AI and then connect that into platforms like n8n to supercharge the backend and connect it into whatever it is you want. So here's an example. I have a website called Site Sleuth or Sloth. I'm not quite sure which one it is. But anyways, we can put in our URL down below here. So I just pasted in my website here, and it's going to go ahead and give me all different ways that we can optimize for SEO. It's going to give us a list of multiple different pages that we can go to, word count, total links, unoptimized images, and so on and so forth. So we could easily spin up a web application like this in like 20 or 30 minutes, and then we can connect it into n8n in the back end, which will allow us to do that n8 or that SEO audit and then send the results back here to be displayed. At no point in human history were you able to use artificial intelligence to generate websites until like a couple of years ago. This is absolutely insane. When I was learning software engineering, it took me so long. It would have taken me a lot of time to generate an app like this that can now be generated almost instantly. Cool. Moving on, we can also use this for something like Lovable as well. So this is another example of AI apps where instead of using Firebase, which we were using before with Google, we're using Lovable, which is another popular AI SaaS platform. And so in this example, what's going on is we're just asking the user to enter or create social media content, so they could plug in things like their interest, industry or company name or website or whatever, generate the media, and it's going to generate the post and the image. Obviously, this is probably not the most appealing image in the world and probably not the most appealing social media post in the world, but in like 5 to 10 minutes, if you just optimize this, I'm sure it could be substantially better. Okay, moving forward, we have recruitment as the next category, just one use case in this area where we can automatically pull applicants from listings in Indeed. So let's say you post a job here, people apply to that. We can automatically pull those people and then we can add them into a Google Sheet. And you see all these checkboxes here. This is the life cycle journey of somebody going through the application process at your company. So they might start off with questions. You might have a form that they fill out, and once you fill out that form, you might want to approve the questions. Like for example, what salary do you want? How long do you want to work here? All those like generic questions that you're qualifying the person to make sure you don't jump on an interview without making sure that you actually want to talk to the person. And then once you approve it, you can click the checkbox. You might have a screening portion where you ask them to, I don't know, like prove their skills. If they're a photo editor, edit 20 photos for me. If you're a script writer, write a script for me, all that kind of stuff. And then you approve the work to make sure they're qualified for the job. And then once the test is complete, maybe you schedule interviews, you hire them. All of this kind of stuff can be automated. All the information can be posted in this Google Sheet here. And the next thing is customer service. So of course we can also use n8n for customer service. So in this instance, what we can do is we can add a chatbot onto our website where all of a sudden customers can message us. And of course, this could handle frequently asked questions, but it could also help us with tasks like generating invoices, for example, so that we could send off entire documents to people in a matter of a couple seconds. We could also use a RAG, which stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation System, to automatically reply to customers. So let's say somebody is messaging us in our CRM and they're like asking questions about our business. We can automatically generate responses back to their questions as they, for every question they ask, we'll have an answer for them. And how RAG systems work is you can think about it like a brain where you train this AI brain brain on everything about your company, and it remembers everything that you feed it. It could be all your contracts, invoices, messages, everything. Whatever it is you entered in there, it'll remember it, and it will be able to reply to customers based on the data that you provide it with. So it's like a really intelligent version of yourself just replying to customers on your behalf. And the last thing that I want to talk about here, which is the miscellaneous category, is you can create an AI clone of yourself to respond back to you. So for instance, in this particular workflow, we have an AI agent where we're messaging it through Telegram, and as soon as it generates a response, instead of generating a text response, it generates a voice response that sounds exactly like us, so we can clone ourselves in 11 Labs and then reply back to ourselves like we're literally hiring ourselves to do work for us. Here's what it sounds like.
A resilient neighborhood rises together hand in hand after every storm.
It's always kind of eerie just hearing yourself talk back to you like that. But anyways, guys, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found value in it. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and also take a look at my school community where there are 3 major outcomes. First of all, the first outcome is teaching you these skills like n8n and so on and so forth, so you can apply it to your life to save time and earn more money. The second transformation here is for those of you looking to create an AI automation agency. I'll help you find, close, and fulfill clients in 30 days or less. And then the last transformation is for those of you who are looking to automate your existing business. With mine, I scaled it to 7 figures, automated up to 80% of it, and I'm going to give you the exact plug and play blueprints to allow you to do hopefully the same thing. So thanks guys so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, and bye-bye.